Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. We got a great show for you guys today. I got a great guest, going to bring him on in just a moment. I was a guest on his podcast a few weeks ago. So returning the favor, we had a good conversation there. So I thought maybe we'll just take it over here. I think he does have a good story. I hope he's got a good story. No, he's got a good story. Trust me, it's going to be one to listen to. As always, you can find this and the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. Check that out if you get a chance. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Also, all of our stuff is coming out on YouTube now these days, putting up all the podcasts. I say these days as if it's like something brand new, but we've been doing that now for a little bit over a year. And now with all the Zoom technology and everything's getting better. All the quality's getting better. All video for all the podcasts has been good, real good. So check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We could always use the subscribers. Lots going on these days behind the scenes. We got our morning rides every day at 5 a.m. Those are live streamed over at Zoom. Our YouTube channel. Our Thursday night rides, actually today is Thursday, we got a ride tonight, but you guys will probably be putting this out after Thursday. But anyway, Thursday night rides, 6:35 p.m. If you're on Zwift and you want to get involved, just let me know. I'll send you an invite. We do a lot of trivia and stuff, have a good time on those rides. We have our Team Ordinary. You can go to teamordinary.com, join the team. I coach some of the athletes on Team Ordinary. I'm a USA Level 1 certified triathlon coach, and it's been really fun. I love watching my athletes train, work their butt off, and get things done, accomplish some really great things. It's been really great. If you're interested in coaching, reach out. Consultation's always free. That being said, let's introduce our guest today from the lovely state of Alabama. I was a guest on his podcast about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm still waiting for that one to come out, by the way.
I got you. This weekend I'll be putting it together.
It doesn't really look good if I release my podcast with you before. But
it makes sense.
John Tipton, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. And yeah, it was a great honor just chat running with you a few weeks back. So.
Yeah, I had a blast too, and it's kind of weird. You never really know with social media these days. I forget how we kind of connected there, but you sent me to your page and your YouTube page. It's called Running with Tiptop. If anyone is Tiptop, I'm assuming that's a nickname.
Yeah, so it's a nickname that I got back my freshman year of high school. So we're talking like 2005, 2004, and I was a sports reporter at my high school, and it was like, all right, we're gonna throw it to Johnny Tiptop Tipton with the sports. And man, it stuck, and I just kind of embraced it and ran with it. And so 16 years later, I got student interns calling me Tip Top, and it's just the way it is.
That's it. That's kind of interesting. I kind of figured there was something sports related there, but it's good to hear. So you're like I said, your YouTube channel is Running with Tip Top, but you do a show on there, and that is and that's the one that I was on, I'm assuming, called Talks with Tip Top. What was the inspiration behind starting this thing? I mean, I know you kind of have a little bit of a video background. Why don't you give us a little bit of an in-depth look at that?
Yeah, so the video background probably plays a big part. I've always just kind of been passionate about running, and for me, I wanted to find a way to combine the two. And I really honestly had no idea how to do it. And I felt like starting out this kind of vlog, so to speak, just kind of chatting with my fellow runners and people in the running community, and not like your, all athletes who've run Boston 20 times or this Olympic person, and trying to reach out to those people, but, chatting with almost quote unquote everyday runner, and, find out like, hey, what works for you? Like we chatting about like marathons and goals, and everything from like, oh, I love this brand of shoes, I like can't stand like wearing this kind of shoe, or even just things like strength training and nutrition. So I've learned a lot myself just chatting with a bunch of just different people. So
So what is your running background? I mean, is it a casual thing that you do? Is it something that you were like really active in high school or something, or college? What's the running background there?
So I ran. So I grew up playing sports, baseball, basketball. I love baseball, and ran a little bit of cross country and track and field in middle school. Enjoyed it, but just really wasn't for me, so to speak. My dad, he ran in high school, he ran in college, he coached at the high school that I eventually went to, and I think I just got my running genes from him maybe a little later. And when I went to the University of Minnesota for my undergrad, I think getting away from home is kind of where I I don't know, really excelled in the essence of fitness. I moved away. I lost about 70 pounds of weight just through
Wow.
running or working out. And I had a friend who ran a half marathon, and when she was running the last quarter mile, and all these people were cheering for not just her but all the runners, and I was just like, wow, this atmosphere is so cool. It's nothing like I've you watch the Boston Marathon on TV and it's like, okay, cool, you get the atmosphere sense, but being there, that was a big deal kind of compared to just, oh, it's another high school or middle school cross country race. Just the emotion of some of the athletes, watching them cross the finish line with that sense of achievement, I was like, wow, I would love to do that. To run a half marathon, that'd be something cool. So, and now I've run that was in 2015, I think. And so since over the last 5 years, I mean, I haven't run any halves in the last 2 years, but I've done over 20 half marathons now. So
Wow. Good stuff, man. Did you do the full yet?
I've done 3 fulls. Yeah. I've done the Twin Cities Marathon twice.
Yeah.
So leading up to it, leading up to the half marathon and then the full, I mean, I've run 5Ks kind of before, nothing for time, not, it had been years, middle school. So it had been years since I had raced kind of competitively, so to speak. And really wanted to just okay, I want to do a 5K. And then, okay, I want to do a 10K. So I did a 5K probably that summer after she had finished. And then later that fall, I did a 10K. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I feel pretty good. And then I think a year and a half later, I completed the half.
Yeah.
And then and then I was like, okay, I want to do at least another half to, 2 halves make a whole, so to speak. So I wanted to do another half marathon, see how I felt after that. And that was actually down here in Tuscaloosa that I ran that half marathon. And yeah, it was 2016, I believe, was my first marathon, the Twin Cities Marathon. Loved it so much. It's such a great race. It's even if you're just not, trying to go for time or anything like that, the final 2 miles are just stacked with people just lined up cheering you on. And you're running, I mean, it's the Twin Cities Marathon, so you're running from Minneapolis to St. Paul, and you're running around all these beautiful lakes. It's the land of 10,000 lakes. And
Right.
yeah, and then my now fiance, we ran the Shamrock, Yingling Shamrock Marathon last March, and it was actually her 26th birthday, so we ran 26 miles for her 26th year of life.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's an interesting way to do it. Now,
Yeah.
you made a couple points here that I thought that hit me with some thoughts of my own, which do occur every once in a while. Number one, you're saying how you watched you watched the Boston Marathon on TV, and it's funny. And you also mentioned that you have a baseball background and sports background. You love sports, but you watch those sports on TV. You watch baseball, you watch football, basketball, whatever it may be. And there's always that action. But then you turn on the Boston Marathon once a year. You turn on New York once a year, and you just watch these people run through the streets. Now, if you're from the city, maybe it's a little bit more interesting. You can kind of gauge where they are. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I know where they are. But if you're not from there, it's kind of all right, they're running, still running,
Yeah.
still running. And how do you find that relates? I feel like the TV watching a marathon as a kid and watching on TV versus then going and being there in person. And you were even just mentioning a half marathon, not even a big one, but what did you find? I mean, what can you draw a comparison there, or how vastly it is to actually be there, either as a spectator or as a runner versus watching it on TV?
Well, I mean, on the in-person aspect, it's a little probably personal because, yeah, like you had mentioned, you're from there, you live around there, and there's probably a good chance that you know somebody who's running there, and it's always fun to watch the signs. And I mean, obviously, I've never been to the New York City or Boston Marathon like in person. Like just to watch, like to run it would be a dream, but just to watch it in person, that would be phenomenal. But I think when you're watching those events on TV, usually we're watching for the, I don't know, super athlete, so to speak. And you kind of want to see like, okay, what are they going to do? And there's usually some incredible finish, and that person has some incredible background story. And, in person, it's just, again, it's kind of then relates back to what I'm doing with the podcast a little bit. It's the everyday people running that you're seeing, and yeah, if you're seeing like people flying and running 4-minute miles too. And like, that's great and all, but I think everybody loves like, the kind of, I don't know, the ordinary story.
I like that. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But no, I like that too, because it's another thing if you're in person and you're kind of like in the middle of the course, like you just stand there and then you watch the runners go through, you watch the leaders, and it's not like,
Right.
Again, it's not like spectating baseball, football, where you sit there and you watch the whole entire game. It's like they're just like, phew, that's it for the leaders. Like, do you go home after that? No, you don't. You sit there and you cheer on everybody else that's coming from behind. And it's just as interesting as as I find it just as interesting as any other sport when you watch it in person, and it's funny, and I think you've kind of just started as a podcast, but you've done close to 20 episodes already, I think. So you're probably getting a feeling like you almost would think that every story is the same. These are just runners out there running, but it's not true. Like every story is different, and every single runner that when you're out there watching that passes by, are you finding that like everyone's story just is like a little bit different, a little bit special? How's your experience been with the podcast so far?
Yes, I mean, I've talked with people who've had like, knee replacement surgeries. I talked with a girl, she had scoliosis as a kid, and like now she's run like a boatload of marathons and half marathons. And yeah, I've talked to, yeah, exactly. And I've talked with some folks who have like totally made like life altering, like the way they like eat, and going vegetarian and like expanding, like seeing how like that helps like with their training. And yeah, so literally everything from surgeries to just kind of like, hey, like living a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah. And it's just when you put that into perspective that way, as like you're watching like just a wave of people go by and knowing that each one has an individual story that is most of the time just as exciting as the next person. It's kind of a special sport in that way. And that it's not only just the winners that have a special story, it's really everyone that's out there giving it a go. Now going back to your running, because I made a note here that I wanted to ask you. So you started running, you did the whole step up, the 5K, 10K, half, but you did have an athletic background. So I'm wondering, when you were earlier in life, did you ever think that maybe later on a marathon was for you, or was it something that you never thought could happen?
Never thought about it. Honestly, I grew up playing baseball since I was 5. So honestly, I wanted to, get to the MLB and everything. Life changes, one door shuts, another one opens. I broke my wrist in high school playing football. It was actually my very first year, like attempting to play football. I made a tackle and was at the very bottom of the pile and shattered like my growth plate up to my like forearm. And so I was out for the season, couldn't play even just freshman baseball. But it was in that time that I started my like broadcasting career. That was like, okay, like maybe ESPN is the dream, and covering these sporting events and covering these athletes would be the door for me, and that'd be the path for me. Ultimately it is, I don't have to work, I work at a university, and I've worked at universities for the last 10 years. So now I don't have to be biased towards, New York or Boston or UCLA, USC. I can, just root for that one school. So
Yeah. I got to tell you, so here's what I like. And And I think a lot of people, especially back when I was just coming out of high school or college, ESPN was like oh, that would be a cool job to have, but you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to, you don't know who to call. You don't have connections. So I remember actually trying out for a broadcast. Like there was 50 people there trying out they had an open call for like a new ESPN channel. And me and my friend went and we tried out, and I stuttered over a couple words, and I was so mad at myself. But when there was more than 50, there was like hundreds of people there, really. And when you stutter over a couple words, then it's gone. You're like, you're like, you wait there forever. And they gave you like really tough names to pronounce. It was really.
Oh yeah, of course.
But what I like is, and I think something that's available to people nowadays, and maybe they don't realize it, maybe they do, and is that you're a videographer. This is your job. This is what you do. And you're able to kind of take that and then combine it with your passion of running, and then create your own sort of niche with a YouTube channel. And you're out there broadcasting just as you would if you were on ESPN. Frankly, I probably would prefer your channel.
Thank you.
Over there. So I just think it goes, and well, let me ask you this, to tie it into the running. Was there any lessons that you learned from like the persistence and the training behind getting ready for a marathon that maybe helps you with producing a show or getting interviews or something like that? Is there any kind of characteristics that you can paint a picture about?
Being able to adapt. I produce a lot of in-venue shows here, so basketball games going on, and it's up and down the court. It's fast-paced. I mean, anybody knows. You could be leading in a basketball game by 20 points, and game's not over yet until like the actual buzzer sounds off, and or somebody gets hurt and things like that. And I would say willing to adapt, because right now, like, I'm enjoying running. Like during this quarantine period, I'm just kind of finding my joy in running. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like run 3 miles, or if it's a day where I'm like, I don't really feel like running today, I'm not gonna like get down about the fact that I didn't like run today. I don't have this run streak of 20 something days anymore or something like that. I'd say definitely willing to adapt, because sports aren't final until the final whistle. And it's the same with running. I mean, just kind of, you take it day by day, and every day that you run, every day that you lace up is going to be different.
Yeah. And especially when someone invites you on their podcast and then we wind up canceling like 2 or 3 times before. Right? Yeah. So you had to adapt. But we did that. Actually, we kind of have been planning this a couple of weeks now. Anyway, it was funny because when I asked you that question, I thought I stumped you there for a second, but you were just giving it some thought, and you came up with a good answer, a really good answer.
Yeah, I hope it was a good answer. I mean, I think you got to adapt in life, and I feel like change is kind of the thing for this year. So
exactly. And you know what? It's like, I find, doing my podcast is just something I love to do. And, whether it becomes like something that flourishes and becomes, my lifetime, then that's wonderful. But if not, then I'm having fun doing it. And it seems like you're having fun with yours as well. And like I said, it does kind of tie into your career as a videographer. We can see your Alabama shirt, so we know you're sitting over there at the University of Alabama. Is that a stadium behind you?
That is actually, that's Bryant Denny Stadium.
There you go. Now, did you choose that spot on purpose for that?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
That's good stuff. So how does your work at Alabama actually tie in at all to your running or to your show at all? Is there an overlap there, or?
Not so much, no. Every now and then I'll do like maybe a track and field or a cross country recruiting video, where, or go out and shoot whatever invite that they're at. But yeah, not so much. So
yeah. It happens. But you do work for the football team a little bit too?
I'll shoot some football practices and every home game, and man, it's unbelievable. There's so many people out here this fall season's going to look a little different, but it's unbelievable when this town is jumping. So
yeah, I tell you, I lived in Boston, right across the street from Boston College, and they don't do it right. You guys do it right down there.
The South is crazy about football, man. They live it for
I'm
sure.
sorry. I'm gonna get people from Boston College are gonna like message me, and I'm gonna. But you guys don't do it right. And if you don't go down to Alabama or LSU or whatever, Florida State, and see a game, you can't even talk to me because it doesn't give it justice. But what is down the pike for you? What's down the pike for the show? What's down the pike for your running? What else you got going on?
Yeah, so I'll be pumping out a few more podcasts. I've talked with a couple folks earlier this week, and then talking with a few over this coming up weekend. So I would expect, a few more podcasts. I'm actually thinking about splitting them up and making them 2 parts, just because, okay, yeah, sure, it's like half and half. I feel like some people, yes, they enjoy watching a long video, and you can do chapters on YouTube, which is amazing for the fact of okay, I want to skip ahead to this portion here and hear what running shoes or what post-race meal that this person recommends and I think so. I'm thinking about splitting them up. So chatting with this one person, part 1, and then part 2 is coming out a couple days later. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
And that, I got to tell you. So, I mean, it depends how much time you have. And plus, you being a videographer, you have the chops. Like I don't. My editing skills are probably nothing compared to what you can do, and it just so. Plus I have a 1-year-old, so it's trying to put videos together and I don't know your experience with Zoom, but occasionally my audio and video doesn't match up, and I gotta cut it around. And it just so it's it can be a nightmare. So for me, I just doing what I got and getting it out there. So for you though, I mean, especially with the videography background, it's one of those things. If you can do little things to make your show a little bit special or different or something that that a little more noteworthy than say some schlep like me who just videos something on it. And if you can those little changes, it might turn into something special. Dude, breaking it into 2 parts, I don't know. I mean, almost if you're gonna do something like that, you might as well cut a highlight video, which I'm sure you're used to doing.
Yeah.
How about doing that? So you cut a highlight video of a 3-minute, almost like a trailer. And then, because if someone's listening to a podcast, they're going to listen to a podcast, whether it's 20 minutes or 40 minutes. I think I talk for a long time. But, it's one of those things that, maybe you get into a groove over time. You can get into the conversation as you're interviewing the person and take notes and find out if there's is there something interesting that person said? And then cut it together as a, as a little highlight package. So if someone just wants to get a little glimpse of who you're interviewed, then that's cool. And they can just watch the 3-minute cut down version, get the cliff notes and move on. I don't know. That's a great,
that's a great tip. But exactly. Just take some of the best 3 or 4 sound bites that they had, and then later on down the road, pull another 3 or 4 sound bites from that same interview or something.
Yeah, it just what it is, and you also YouTube. Yeah. YouTube will give you more credit for the longer that people watch your videos, which is good for podcasts. Because if you have a longer podcast, then people are just going to watch it for a longer period of time. But I find that people are either have the ability to watch for a long period of time, or they just want to get those little. We all have short attention spans these days, so it's I mean, half the time, if people go on there and they see if they see a 20-minute or a 40-minute video, what's the difference if you cut it in half, right? I mean, there's not much difference there. But if they see a 3-minute video or a 2-minute video and a 40-minute video, that could be the difference. I don't know. I'm just I'm thinking on the fly here.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. Then and then circling back. GoPro is actually coming out with their Hero 9 here really soon. There have been some leaks that have been popping up, and I'm gonna invest. That's gonna be my first sports action camera. Nice. So man, I'm pumped to just take that thing out running. And my fiance and we escaped down to the beach a few weeks back, and we went just biking on this trail, and I was thinking oh man, it'd be it was so beautiful. A picture couldn't do justice. And I'm thinking of what kind of video I could create from it. So
that's great. I have the 7 and I've had it for a couple of years. And honestly, it's a great camera. It really is. The quality is top notch. I used to take it out on bike rides with me, but then I started just getting annoyed about it having it there with me I mean, I guess you could put it on your, there's other places to put it. And I did a couple of like, what do they call? Oh, geez, I'm drawing a blank. Um, like I rode like for 3 hours and I cut it into like a 20-minute video or something. It's actually one of my
Oh,
most,
like time lapse.
yes, time lapse. That's it. I'm getting older and, and my brain cells don't think of the words as fast.
Well, good, man. You're talking with the
As
video guy here, so maybe I can help you out.
right. But I tell you, I did a time. People like the time lapse videos. They're kind of interesting
Yeah,
and they're kind of artistic to watch.
they are. They really are. And I think with this new one, they're actually implementing like a front screen. So for vloggers, it's like perfect. So then you could actually see yourself positioning the camera. And I don't know. There've been some rumors that it can actually shoot in 5K, which would be unreal too. So we'll see.
Yeah. And it's incredible that like you and I can shoot in such high quality video when, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, like that, you couldn't even get a movie in that quality video, yet you and I can do it, from our seat of our bike.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No joke. It's weird every now and then if I'm having to produce a video here and they're like, oh yeah, do you have this highlight from like 2010 or, even like 2007? I'm like, yeah, but like the quality is so bad. And so what we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts. What about running wise? Are you have any races coming up or are you still training?
Yeah, I got a little trigger finger for maybe a virtual race. I don't know. Never done one. Yeah, there's a few. I feel like I know there's a few going on or that were going on this summer that was like, hey, race across this state for so many miles, and over the span of a few months. So I may like look in to see if there's any of those going on. I would really like to run a half, probably just right after the new year.
Yeah. Hopefully
Like,
is it a little bit better out there, like down south in terms of more better meaning open? Like, do you see some races going on down there?
uh, yeah, no, hit and miss. Atlanta has a really good running community there. Here in Tuscaloosa, we're about an hour away from Birmingham, and Birmingham has a really good like biking community, and they'll host 5Ks up there a lot and often too. Down here in Tuscaloosa, we have the Tuscaloosa half and 5K, and then there's like another 5K, 10K that they do. But I will tell you, man, running here in the summertime is brutal. It's like you got to wake up at the crack of dawn, but it's super humid. It's like 99% humidity at 6 a.m. And or even just trying to run after work. It's hard in the summertime.
Yeah.
Finding like at least when you want to crank up the mileage. I think I'm good for a 5K. And I mean, I'm like totally drenched from head to toe, and like I could keep going, but if I fall down, pause my Garmin.
Exactly. I tell you, it's tough, and it's like there's a heightened marathon season in the fall. I find it's like New York Marine Corps Marathon. There's a few others, and Philadelphia is one. It's just so it's like you have to train in the hottest months. And I tell you, up here, we've probably had the hottest summer I can remember up here in a long time. It's just starting to tail off. And we're just starting to get some days in like the 60s and 70s where it's like, even 60s would be like a little chilly for this time of year. But we're like, thank God, because it's been a rough, hard, hot summer. And people are still trying to get it done. But yeah, you're right. You got to wake up early and get out. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah. So I'd like to, like I said, I'd like to run a 5K, maybe even a 10K at the end of the year. If there's any that are close by. So that'd be great. I'd love to, but yeah, definitely a half, maybe sometime in January, February. So just to kind of like, all right, kick off the new year, start out fresh,
And so does the fiance run with you all still, or is it kind of like individual?
Yeah, so her love for running kind of died off after the marathon, we'll say. It was becoming a little bit of a chore towards the end when it came to training. She had a good race experience. It wasn't like what she was imagining.
Are they coming after you?
Yeah, I don't know.
I got to tell you,
I'm not wearing a mask right now, so maybe. I don't know.
I appreciate the effort to get the football stadium in the back, but man, they're coming after you. You might have to run and duck into a car or something.
Yeah, so she doesn't run like as much or whatever. She's trying to get into biking, so
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, you get through those marathons and there's like two different reactions that you could possibly have. It's either I'll never do that again, or it's I'll never do that again. When's the next one?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
That
one or
was me
the other.
after my second one. That was me. I was like, okay, like not again, at least for like a few years, and we'll see what happens.
You get
So
caught in the trap.
I did and obviously a lot of things I feel like with restrictions and openings need to take place. But I actually ran a half marathon every month for 12 months in a different state. So
Oh, that's cool.
and that was
Just a personal.
yeah, I did it in 2017, and then finished up in Rock and Roll, Arizona, in January of 2018, and it was awesome. It was so great. Like, so I did run. Like, Boston has a Run to Remember half marathon.
Yep.
So I ran that, and I had visited Boston one time in high school, and but I was like, man, to like run, and we're like part of it runs down Boylston, so like that's awesome.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really great. I got run out. My parents live in California. That's where I was born and raised. So, so I got to run out in Long Beach and see them, which was nice because, working out at university, there's sporting events year round. So I don't really get to go home as much as I would like. And then, yeah, running in Arizona was awesome. So it was really nice to like, I guess like travel too, when you get to see all these different places and, I crossed off a lot of states. So I think, for me, I think the lifelong goal is to run maybe a half in every state. I know a lot of people are like, oh, run a full in every state. And we're like, oh, maybe I'll run a half. So,
I like that goal. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I thought about doing the full in every state. And the very first kind of day I flew into another state. And we had a couple days before the marathon. But we remember getting off the plane and like seeing in Florida, I was doing Fort Lauderdale. And they have like a margarita stand. And I'm like, wow, I really could go for a margarita, but I'm running a marathon like the next day. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
But if I was running a half, maybe I could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The night before the night before the last half in Arizona, like my dad and I, we got there a few days early, and I'm like, man, it's the last one. I'm just going to have a couple beers like the night before. No big. I've been training well the last 11 months. I'll be all right.
Yeah, I think I remember going to dinner the night before my last half marathon. I think I PR'd that one, and I had like 4 beers, and I was thinking like that was not smart. And I got home, and I just was like, I just go to the race and see how you do. And I wound up PRing the race by a lot too.
Wow.
It's like,
that's awesome.
I was just still drunk. I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, John, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and best of luck with your show. Best of luck with your racing, and wish you the best, man.
Hey, yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to seeing my episode come out on your show too. I hope you got my good side. Hope
real soon.
All right, man. Wish you the best of luck, John. Again, let me just, before you go, where can we find you on social media? And obviously we talked about the YouTube channel, which is Running with Tiptop, and then the show is Talks with Tiptop. But where can we find you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so Running with Tiptop, if you just YouTube search that, and then I would say on Instagram and Twitter, the handle's simple. It's J and then Tiptop, so TIPTOP.
That's pretty cool. You know what? That the nickname comes in handy because Jay Tipton probably would have been taken, but
right
there you go.
I think it might have been actually, but Tiptop has just a nice ring to it, and
agreed. So anyway, thanks again for coming on the show. Appreciate your time, and wish you the best of luck.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right. That was our podcast with John Tipton from Running with Tiptop. Good guy, really good guy. I was on his podcast a few weeks ago, and we circled up. We said, hey, why don't we get him over here? Other than the sirens, I appreciate the effort of getting the Alabama Stadium in the background. I thought that was really cool and unique. But then it's always has to be something that spoils it, right? Always got to be something. The police sirens coming in there into play. But I think it'll come out fine. I think we'll do great. That being said, I look forward to the next few podcasts. We got a couple of really good guests coming on. And until then, always remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.